My selfish dad gave my daughter a stick for her birthday and said, expensive gifts are only for other grandkids. Everyone laughed, but 30 minutes later there was silence. My daughter Olivia had just turned 8. We rented a room at a local community center, ordered pizza, hung up decorations, and invited family. Nothing fancy. Just a normal birthday party with people who were supposed to care about her. My dad, Frank, showed up late carrying something behind his back. The second he walked in, he had that smug little smile he always got when he thought he was the funniest person in the room. Everyone in the family already knew he treated the grandkids differently. My sister Rachel's kids got everything. New bikes, gaming systems, expensive vacations. Last Christmas, Dad bought Rachel's oldest son a gaming PC that cost more than my first car. Olivia usually got a card with $20 inside. I hated it, but Olivia rarely complained. When it came time for presents, Olivia sat on the floor opening gifts while everyone watched. Then Dad stepped forward. Okay, he announced. This one's from Grandpa. Olivia smiled and reached for it. Dad handed her a long package wrapped in brown paper. She carefully tore it open. Inside was a stick, an actual tree branch. For a second, nobody reacted. Then Dad burst out laughing. Rachel laughed too. A few cousins joined in. Dad pointed at the stick and said, kids spend too much time staring at screens. I figured she'd enjoy something from nature. More laughter. Olivia looked down at the branch and then back at him. She didn't understand, but she tried to smile anyway. Thank you, Grandpa, she said quietly. That should have been the end of it. Instead, Dad decided to push it further. With a grin, he said, expensive gifts are only for the other grandkids. Rachel nearly choked laughing. A few relatives looked uncomfortable. Olivia lowered her eyes to the floor. My wife Melissa squeezed my arm under the table. I stood up, not angry, not yelling, just calm, because 6 months earlier, something had happened that nobody else in the room knew about. I walked over to my backpack and pulled out a manila folder. Dad's smile started fading. What's that? He asked. I looked at him. You'll see. The room grew quieter. 6 months earlier, my grandmother had passed away. Dad's mother. After the funeral, I got a call from her attorney. I assumed it was routine estate paperwork. It wasn't. Over the years, Grandma had loaned Dad money. A lot of money. More than $180,000 altogether. Every loan was documented. Every agreement was signed. Every missed payment was recorded. Dad had spent years telling everyone how successful he was while quietly borrowing from Grandma whenever he needed cash. Most of the money was never repaid. Nobody knew. Not Rachel. Not my aunts. Not the cousins. Nobody. Before she died, Grandma changed her estate plan. The unpaid loans were deducted from Dad's inheritance. She also left a letter explaining exactly why. The attorney told me I could share it with the family if I ever felt it was necessary. I never planned to. Until that moment, until my daughter was sitting there holding a stick while people laughed at her. I opened the folder and handed copies around the room. Rachel took one. My aunt took another. Pages started turning. Dad stood up immediately. Don't do this, he said. Nobody stopped reading. The room got quieter with every passing second. The documents showed loan amounts, dates, signatures, and repayment records. Everything was there. Then people reached Grandma's letter. The mood changed instantly. Rachel stopped smiling. One cousin looked stunned. My aunt covered her mouth. Grandma wrote about watching Dad play favorites for years. She wrote about how he constantly praised Rachel's children while ignoring others. She wrote about his habit of acting generous with money that wasn't really his. She even mentioned Olivia by name. Not because of the stick, because the favoritism had been obvious for years. Dad started talking, making excuses, explaining, blaming everyone except himself. Nobody argued. Nobody needed to. The paperwork was sitting right in front of them. 30 minutes earlier, he'd been the center of attention. Now nobody was laughing. Nobody was even looking at him. Olivia walked over and stood beside me. She was still holding the stick. She didn't understand the details. She just knew the room felt different. Dad grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Nobody stopped him. Nobody followed him. Nobody asked him to stay. Then Olivia spoke. Grandpa? He turned around. She held out the stick. You forgot your present. The room stayed completely silent. Dad looked at the stick, then at everyone else. No one moved. No one smiled. No one rescued him. A few seconds later, he opened the door and left. The stick remained on the gift table for the rest of the party. Nobody touched it. That night, after we cleaned everything up, I threw it away. A month later, Rachel called and apologized for a lot of things she had ignored over the years. Several relatives stopped speaking to Dad. Others kept their distance. As for Olivia, she moved on surprisingly fast. Kids usually do. But every now and then, she'll ask about that birthday. Not because of the stick, not because Grandpa left, but because that was the day an entire room finally stopped pretending they couldn't see what had been happening all along.